What's going on YouTube? Snakebite here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a Q&A for the channel. We've been doing a lot of gameplays, a lot of commentaries. I wanted to kind of switch it up and I don't know, just do something different for the channel. The last time I did a Q&A I think was like 2 or 3 years ago. So I thought it'd be a great change of pace and something cool to do before Infinite and then even maybe during Infinite. So let's jump into the questions. Okay, first off, I just want to say thank you so much for all the questions. I went and tweeted about this Q&A, so if you're not following me on Twitter, go ahead and do so for future reference. You get live notifications for my stream, YouTube videos, and if I ever do a Q&A, more than likely it'll be asking Twitter, so make sure to hit me with a follow there. Anyway, let's jump into the first question. Fenrir tweeted and said, if you were an AM in today's Halo ecosystem, knowing what you know now, how would you go about getting to a pro level in Halo Infinite? I think this is a really great question because obviously Halo Infinite is decently close. So I personally would, knowing what I know now, I would continue to try to be the highest level possible in matchmaking and use players streaming to my advantage. Basically, the way that Frosty really got noticed, I assume most of you know who Frosty is. You know, used to team with him, 2 world championships, you know, all that good stuff. The way that Frosty really got noticed was he subscribed to Lethal, and I'm not telling you to go sub, but basically he went to Lethal stream, became a sub there, got into his matchmaking because they were obviously really high levels, and Lethal one day needed someone to play with, and he invited this kid who happened to end up going pro, basically on his own, like, you know, formed his own team, broke into the top 8. But the way that he became great friends with Lethal is just literally through streaming. So if I was an AM player today, I would work extremely hard to become the best player possible. I would obviously try to be an extremely high level in matchmaking, you know, hopefully the highest if you can get there. And then other than that, just use players' content and social media to their advantage. I'm not saying you have to go like try to be fake buddies with anybody. But, you know, players will be searching on their own a lot. Maybe they one day are trying to get a party to play. Make sure you're there and make sure you're a close level so that they'll actually invite you. And this is a really great way to get noticed. So Minty FPS said, what do you think of No Thrust? And do you think it will return? This is a tough question because without seeing Infinite gameplay, I don't have a great opinion. I don't necessarily think it will return. And like, for the most part, what do I think of No Thrust? I want to wait and see. I'm a little bit concerned because with sprinting, I definitely like the addition of the thrust with sprinting. Like, if you compare reach to H5, I prefer H5. And thrusting became this really cool mechanic that allowed for a lot of outplay potential. Going back to maybe a little bit slower pace gameplay, or not necessarily slower, but you know what I mean, like no advanced movements or no advanced abilities, I'm a little bit concerned, but I'm one of the people that basically am like, let's just see how it plays out, and then hopefully it becomes, hopefully it works, right? Whether or not I think it'll make a return, the cool thing about what I've heard about Halo Infinite is how they constantly want to be updating it, how they constantly want to fix it, you know, add stuff to the game, etc. So hopefully, if the game comes out and there's a unanimous talk about wanting thrust, I hope that they can add it back. MP Talk sent in the question and said, have you answered who is replacing APG? Sorry if that info is out there. I haven't seen it yet. We have not announced our 4th. We obviously, when we made the decision, I'll maybe put out a separate video talking about this. But basically, a lot of stuff was moving fast, and APG needed an answer because before we knew Infinite was delayed, people were trying to solidify their teams. So we couldn't commit to Brad or to APG, and we didn't want to hold him up. So APG now has a new team that I know he's really happy with. Our biggest concern wasn't really about ourselves; it was more about just making sure that he landed himself on an established team, and we weren't kind of messing with his career by potentially later on not being able to commit to him. So we don't have a 4th yet. When we can announce something and have something to announce, we'll make sure to announce it on all of our social media. Duquesne sent in the question and said, Chips Ahoy or Oreos? I say, why not both? David Klein asked, what changes about older gamers' playstyles or gameplay to make it so they fall off? Essentially asking what happens to professional players that end up leading to them falling off. I think there's basically, off the top of my head, I think there's basically 2 things that occur that cause players to fall off. The first is just a change in their personal lives. Personally speaking, I've seen a lot of I've been a professional player since 2009, so I've seen it go a long, long way, and I think that this is going to happen less and less. But basically, up until probably 2016-ish, you could make a living off of video games and esports, at least for Halo. You can make a living off of it, but it wasn't necessarily a career, right? And that was kind of, I think, what ended up happening or has happened with a lot of old professional players. Basically, time goes on and your priorities change, and how much time you could put into the game is going to be, affected by what's going on in your life. Your family, kids, new job, all those things play a factor into it. Now, I think it's a lot less of an issue because gaming is a full-time job now, and back in the day it wasn't. Used to, unless you were at the top of the top, like probably top 2 consistently, top 3 consistently, you might have had to go work and do gaming, and basically working 2 jobs. So it's not as much of an issue anymore. But for the question of older gamers and kind of what might have happened, that's the first issue. The second issue is just a change in gameplay. Players are progressing, players are getting better. If you look at H3 in 2019, when we played it for a whole year, to 2008 to 2010, the game was played at a whole new pace, right? So older players struggling might just be because they're having a harder time keep up with the pace of play. Now, there's a lot of factors to this. Maybe they're not on the right team. Like I mentioned before, priorities changing. But overall, I don't think age has much to do with it as much as like just personal lives interfering or getting in the way. And, I guess how bad you want to succeed shifts when you get older as well. So I don't think that age is a factor, but the first factor being personal lives up until recently, especially, and then the second factor for more gameplay related, just struggling with the pace of play. Darth Raider said, "Do you expect VR starts to return in Infinite HCS?" Now, I do. I think that the battle rifle is going to return because from the pistol that we saw, it was classified as like a sidearm. It wasn't like an H5 pistol, or I don't like a CE or H5 pistol. It wasn't a starting weapon, right? But basically, Halo put out a post saying that the current Halo 5 pistol was not in Halo Infinite. Now, with the delay, will that change? I don't know. So it's very possible that with the delay, maybe they add it in, maybe we get a new starting weapon. But if we just go strictly off of the reveal, I think we see battle rifles being the starting weapon in Halo Infinite Esports. Sander asked, "How do you stay motivated waiting so long for Infinite, and ever thought about competing in other games like at Snipedown?" Okay, Eric Rona, aka a friend. This is a tough question because it's something I'm currently struggling with 100%. I'm not necessarily struggling with staying motivated on the competition side. I really still want to compete. I love competing at a high level. On the content side, I'm just finding it difficult. I was gearing up. The way that AO and I like basically orchestrated this channel is we started slow back in October when I started focusing way more on content, October of 2019, that is. We started putting out 3 videos a week. I was doing loads of different games, not just Halo. Fast forward to what's supposed to be 3 to 4 months out of Infinite, and we're doing 5 videos a week, starting to focus on tips and tricks and like loads of more interactive stuff on the channel, right? Because the hope is for Infinite, I love to put out that style of video, and so I'm preparing for that, right? With Infinite being delayed on the content side, it's definitely hard. Just being real, it's hard to be 100% motivated because there's no end date on when life is going to become I don't want to say easier, but easier in terms of content. Most of the content that I'm doing now, I feel like it's helpful to people, and I really love that. But for the most part, it's old gameplays and, jumping on H3 again or H5 again, or, hopefully you get the point. So competition-wise, I don't have a problem staying motivated. Content-wise, it's been a little bit of a struggle, but I'm just trying to push through it because I think that perseverance is the best thing that you can have. For the second part of the question, have you ever thought about competing in another game? Obviously, like Eric is doing. Absolutely. I've thought multiple times about trying to go compete in the CDL. Even for this next year, I'll probably say I'm not going to, obviously. But I think that as a professional player, you always have to evaluate your career, evaluate your life. If you just sit back and wait for things to happen, for me, they don't tend to happen. So I'm always thinking about what's next. I don't think that I'll end up switching to another game, but um, definitely thought about it a lot. Still thinking about it until Infinite, because now with the delay, we don't necessarily know what's gonna happen, right? But if I was gonna, I feel like if I was gonna switch, I should have done it basically like 2 years ago. But there's stuff going on in my personal life. I just couldn't put the full amount of time that I would have needed to Call of Duty, and I don't regret it. It worked out for me. Landing on Sentinels, everything worked out, right? But obviously, if I was going to do it, I think I probably should have done it before. Yeah, just trying to stick with it and make the best decision possible. Basil One asked, "How do you like your eggs?" I'll be real, I don't like them. I could have don't like them. I could have eggs can be in stuff, bake with it whatever you want, cook whatever. Just straight up, I wish I did, but I don't, and I hate it. I hate that about myself. I really do. Pretty C Princess said, "How did you land the ultimate babe at Prague?" Obviously talking about LVP. We all need advice. Thank you, Courtney. First off, hello. Tell Tom I said hi. Second of all, to answer the question, I have no fucking clue. Hi, I am Moot said, would you see the grappling hook as a potential power weapon or power up when placed on the map with limited use? I personally would view it, I view it as an equipment, which it's going to be added in the game as. It's basically, I guess, a power up. Either way, it's a piece of equipment that you're going to probably want to go for on the map. We'll see how good it is. We'll see how bad it is. I don't know. I guess it's kind of a power weapon, or you really got me on this one. I think it's more of a power up because you make a play with it rather than do damage with it. Power weapon, I'd say, is sniper, or rockets, whatever the case may be, right? So I guess I classify more as a power up. Showcase Halo sent in the question and said, "What is your favorite moment or event win in your competitive Halo career?" This is a very difficult question. Obviously, I've been very, very fortunate. We've won quite a few Halo events now. 2 World Championships, a couple other events, right? I think HGS London 2018 is probably my favorite. Aside, the World Championships were great and everything, but my team means a lot to me. From 2016 to 2018, like that was our team, right? And then obviously going forth, I still feel that way. Like when we had APG on the team, like my team is very, very important to me. Always has been in my career, always will be. So to go from being undisputed the best team for basically 2 years to we started struggling a little bit, and by a little bit I mean we were like getting second 4 events in a row. There's a lot of factors to that. Like, we made the mistake of taking a very long break. We thought Halo 5 was done. We had issues with Optic Gaming and obviously ended up getting released and left. So HGS London 2018 is my favorite because it just proved a lot of hard work like paid off. And on top of that, we didn't take the easy way out. The easy way out would have been to, get second place multiple times in a row and be like, we can't do this anymore, or like we're not as good as we used to be, and like let's go make a change, or someone go look for a change, right? And hope that it works out. But we took a little bit more of the more difficult route. We just worked through our problems, and like people ask this question all the time, but genuinely, it was never even a question of making a team change or anything like that. So I think HGS London 2018, when we 4-0'd Splice in the finals and reclaimed the #1 spot, obviously we go on to 2-peat after that. That'd be another top one too, is Atlanta 2018 when we 8-0 wreck in the finals and win the last Halo 5 event. That'd be up there. But London just shows, like, for me, a lot of hard work pays off. And on top of that, for my personal life, it meant a lot to me. Obviously, I stayed extra in London because of Lottie, and like both for my professional life and my personal life, it meant a lot. And specifically competition wise, for my favorite win, like it was a feeling like no other, of like not being able I don't know how else to explain it, but we were at the top for so long, and to fall down and then reclaim that top spot was honestly a feeling like no other.
And they'll be able to close it out. And with the way that Frosty's slaying here, he looks unstoppable. Now up on top, ring 3 with sniper rifle as well. He is 30-11 in this game. Make that 31-11.
Players on his radar. Frosty says, bring it on. He's just waiting for anyone to dare challenge him, to have the nerve to challenge him. As they're trying to move in a third and final cap. Frosty spots one player, cleans up the kill on Stella, looks for the second, he finds that as well, drops down, gets the flag touch, and manages to get it to his courtyard.
That was 2 dead for both sides. Curious if we're going to see Tox continue that run to try to end it here. Looks like Snakebite is going to answer our question, yes.
Picks up that flag, the kills are being picked up as well. The arena here in London is going wild. Frosty with the final kill. Tox have done it, they're back on top. Tox Gaming are your champions of London.
Kent Stark asks, why is Lethal always so mean to you? Truth is, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty nice to him. I like to think it's a love-hate relationship. I think he hates that he loves me, and I think that's just kind of how I look at it. I don't know if it's true, but that's what gets me through the day. So, couldn't tell you. All right, last question, but it is probably one of my favorites, and I don't want to put a time limit on it, so we're throwing it at the very end to let it go. All right, David Klein, thank you for the second question. One of my favorite questions. Leading up to becoming a pro, how did you handle the presumed guilt of feeling like you were wasting your time / missing out on life, etc.? I always felt that way, and it's why I mostly gave up gaming except to spectate. No matter how you slice it, you could still be with people instead. I personally really like this question because it's something that I really struggled with for a really long time. You guys, I don't know how many of you are obviously super familiar with my career, but my first event was in 2006 when I was 11 years old. Became a professional player by 2009. I only went to a couple, throughout 2006 to one event in 2007, 2 events in 2008, and then I became a professional player in 2009. But back then, especially, it was a lot harder to justify becoming a professional player because it wasn't this career. There wasn't an insane amount of money to make from it. You just did it because you just played and competed because you loved it. I think I just justify. Honestly, I feel like I got super lucky in my life where my family and my friends were always really, really supportive. I really didn't get too much flack overall. Like, everyone was just really supportive and encouraged me to do it. I still struggled with the missing out on life aspect for sure because I was a 13-year-old kid spending most of my time playing video games, and it was a different world, especially back then. Nowadays it's a lot very, very different now. I feel like personally I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew that winning was something that was really important to me, and I can't explain it. Like, from the first event I went to in 2006, I got 6th round in the in the New York playoffs. I made it to the 6th or 7th round. It was okay, right? But from that moment on, it was just this new feeling of wanting to compete so badly. I was willing to drop everything else to go do it. And I had a pretty good balance to my life. I still had my friends. I did really well in school still. So it's not as if I just dropped everything else because I needed that balance. But that feeling of I'm missing out on life, etc., or I'm wasting my time, I feel like I just kind of justified it by saying this is what I want to do. Like, I see something here and this is what I want to do. And at the end of the day, if you weren't someone who supported that or understood that, then you probably weren't my kind of person, right? So I don't have the best answer ever. But it's definitely something a lot of people struggle with. It's no secret. You're spending your time playing a video game, and the truth of the matter is, to becoming a professional player, you're the top, let's say, 1%. So definitely difficult to justify. But overall, I just think if it's what you want to do, you got to go for it. And advice to anyone who's young that's watching that maybe wants to, just make sure you have that balance to your life. You want to put forth all the effort to become a professional player, but make sure you're not excluding your family, your friends, and your personal self to achieve it. And then if you have that good balance, I think that's the easiest way to actually succeeding. Thank you guys so much for sending in so many questions. I hope you all enjoyed the Q&A. I'd love to do another one. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Appreciate everyone watching as always. The support has been absolutely unreal on the channel, and this is kind of my way of switching it up, but just making sure you guys know how much I appreciate it. You know, answering questions by people supporting the stream, supporting the YouTube is always one of my favorite things to do. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all the support. As always, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Sorry. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Have a great day. Thank you for watching.